Now, who says macaroni and cheese? Well, only has to be macaroni and cheese. Today I'm going to put a different spin on it, my spin on it, on how to turn it into a lovely casserole. Now I'm going to start this off with a pot on a stove on a medium to high heat. Now normally for things like minced meat or ground beef, I'd be using a fry pan, but for the amount I'm cooking, it just works out far easier by putting it into a pot, just because it's so much deeper. So into the pot I'm just going to drizzle on just some olive oil, and then into that, one diced up onion, and then to that I'm going to add a couple of cloves, or in my case about 4 cloves of minced garlic. And just cook this over this medium to high heat until the onions are nice and soft. Now the recipe actually calls for 2 cloves of garlic, but I like my garlic, so that's why I'm adding about 4, actually I think that's probably 5. My philosophy is more garlic the better, but that's up to you and your personal taste. So it should only take a couple minutes just until these onions soften up. Okay, so once we've softened up our onions, next I'm going to add about 750 grams or 1.5 pounds of ground beef, or in Australia we call it minced meat. So we're just going to keep cooking it over this medium to high heat, breaking it up as we go until the meat is cooked all the way through and it's nice and brown. So it should take, so just keep on doing this, it should take about 5 minutes or so over this heat. Just make sure you keep breaking it up so we don't get any large lumps. Okay, so I ended up transferring it to a bigger pot because I kind of underestimated how much size I'd need. So keep that in mind when you do it. Okay, so the meat is nice and brown. As you can see, it's all broken up. So next, for flavouring. So first, I'm going to add about half a teaspoon of oregano, plus half a teaspoon of paprika. And for these next 2 ingredients, it's going to be to taste. So the first one being salt, now as little or as much as you like. And of course, some pepper. And finally, I'm going to add in 1 jar of tomato puree. And don't forget, give it a good shake with a bit of water in there at the end, just so we can get the rest of that sauce out. And simply give it a good stir through. And it's at this point where you'd want to give it a taste. If you feel like you need a bit more salt, feel free to add some, or more pepper. Even the oregano and paprika. Okay, so I've just turned it down to a medium to low heat, and we're just going to let that simmer away for about half an hour to an hour. Just gives it a chance for all those flavors to infuse. So the longer you leave it, the better it's going to taste. Okay, so I've had our meat slow cooking away for it's been about an hour now. So now we're going to do our macaroni pasta. So I've got about 450 grams, which is also 16 ounces, and it works out to about 3 cups worth of macaroni pasta. And I've got a pot on the stove boiling away. So we're just going to place that into our pot, making sure we stir it straight away so it doesn't all stick. And normally we cook this for about 8 minutes, but I only want to cook it for 4 minutes. 8 minutes comes up al dente, which is not too hard, not too soft, but just right. So we're only going to cook it for about 4 minutes, maybe 5, because after that we're going to place it into our meat with the sauce, and we're going to keep on cooking that for a further, say 20 minutes or so, so everything combines and all those flavors are infused. So if you overcook it here, you're definitely going to overcook it in the meat. Okay, so it's been about 4 minutes. As you can see, they've pretty much almost doubled in size, in fact. So we're going to take it straight off the heat, drain the water out, and then we're going to place it into our meat. Okay, so our meat is nicely cooked, and look at that. And it smells delicious too. Okay, so I've got our cooked and drained macaroni pasta. So we're going to place that in and just give it a good mix through, so everything is well combined. Okay, so we're going to cover that back up and let it simmer away on a medium to low heat for another 30 minutes, and then it's ready for the cheese. Okay, so this has been cooking for a further 30 minutes, and now I have an oven dish. Now I'm using a glass one, but you don't have to use a glass one, it's up to you. So we're just simply going to spoon our mixture into our baking dish. And I just want to get stuck into this straight away because it smells fantastic. Now you can put cheese throughout it, but I like to put the cheese on top. So I like to bake the cheese on top. So we're still using macaroni, we're still using the cheese, so technically it's macaroni and cheese, but we're putting a lovely spin on it as well. Now for our last ingredient, the cheese. Now I've never been too fussy on the type of cheese I use in my macaroni and cheese. I like to experiment with different types. For example, this is like a Mexican blend that I just picked up at Costco, but you can use whatever cheese you like. And we're just going to spread it on top. Don't be afraid to use too much because, well, you can never use enough cheese. It's like bacon, you can never have enough. Okay, so all we have to do now is place this into the oven or under a boiler, or in Australia we call it a grill, just until the cheese is melted. Now would you look at that delicious macaroni and cheese casserole. You not only have that lovely traditional macaroni and cheese taste, but you also have that lovely mince mixed in. It really has turned into a perfect casserole that just tastes fantastic. It not only tastes fantastic, but the smell is phenomenal. It really is. I know your guests will love it. Of course, there's nothing stopping you from hoarding it all to yourself, but it's best shared because you're going to get all the gratitude from your friends on a fantastic dinner. Now you can pre-make all this and then just put the cheese on later, and all you have to do is just simply place it into the oven, cover it with foil and bake it for another 40 minutes at about 180 degrees Celsius or 350 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'll admit it's definitely not the traditional mac and cheese, it is definitely a fantastic version. Who says macaroni and cheese just has to be macaroni and cheese? Live a little, mix it up, because honestly, when you try this, it tastes simply delish.